What's up, guys? Let me reintroduce myself. For you guys who don't know, my name is Sean Wisdom, and I am a Houston-based videographer and photographer that specializes in working with small businesses. And today we're going to talk about my main working camera bag and what I carry in there, just to kind of have all my bases covered in a very general situation. So let's get right into it.
That felt real good, Bubba.
As I open the bag, I have it right here out of frame. I am going to start with my baby, tried and true, love of my life. We're gonna start right here with the Tamron 28-75. I can't say enough good things about a lens like this. So a little backstory on me: I used to shoot Canon a while ago, and I always would shoot in the crop sensor format, so I never really found the use for a 24-70 on that system. And at the time, there was really no super affordable good 24-70s for video and photo, so I would shoot a lot of the 18-35 by Sigma, and that one worked really well. But when I went into the Sony platform, I got two lenses very early on. I got an 85 because I felt like it was going to be a similar to shooting because I shot a lot of 50, and 50 on the crop sensor format is 85. I felt like that one would be the easiest to transition over into shooting on a full frame format for me. I got the 24-70, or in this case the 28-75. I don't know why Tamron uses the weird, they'll add a little but take a little from one side. I don't really know why they do that. Like I said, I can't say enough good things about that lens. It is on the front of my camera for 85-95% of the time. I can usually find a good shot somewhere in there, especially for video. That is going to be my first lens that I pick up. If I can ask for anything out of the Tamron 24-70, 28-75, it would be just a little bit more light. If there was a way that I can get it in this package, probably a little bit bigger, if it was just a tiny bit bigger, and it was like an f2, that would be nice. Next lens here, which you're gonna see a little bit of a trend here, is gonna be the Tamron 17-28, or the 16-35. Like I said, we're just gonna call it the real names, the regular names, just to make it nice and easy. But yeah, 17-28. So this is another lens from Tamron that I really like. It's pretty crazy. When I was coming up, I started shooting about 10 years ago, and Tamron and Sigma were not that great. Sigma was kind of on the come up, but Tamron was not great at all. Tamron was like just so cheap. It just wasn't really well built. Funny enough, I say cheap and well built. These are made out of plastic for the most part, but they do have metal mounts that go and mount onto the camera, so that's good. But I will say you can see how much I use this lens, because my zoom ring, this is on the 28-75, my zoom ring is starting to get a little floppy there, but it still works fine, no issues. And this lens is fantastic. It's pretty portable, pretty small. It has internal zoom, which I love that it has internal zoom. That is like one of my favorite things about it, especially for video. So the reason why I carry both of these is to cover quite a bit of range. So I get 17-28 at f2.8, and then I get 28-75 covered. But instead of me having to carry like 8 to 9 lenses to cover those like more favorable focal lengths, I could just carry 2. This one, I don't really find too many issues with it. I don't shoot a lot of super wide, so for me, I'm more of like a 50-85 guy. 35 is like my widest, where I'm like, man, this still looks cool to me personally. Not saying that stuff can't look cool on 24, 28, 16, 7. Not saying that. But what I'm saying is me personally, I really enjoy using the 35, 50, and 85 millimeter focal lengths. That's just where I feel very comfortable, and I think that I can make my best work in those focal lengths. Moving on, we have the Sigma which I'm filming this on right now, the Sigma 35mm f1.4 art. Sigma, man. I love me a Sigma piece of glass. It's made in Japan. It's a big, heavy, bulky lens. One of these lenses is new, but I got my 28-75 used, and I also got the 35mm used with a box and the case, and it has been such a good lens, and I really like it because at that f1.4 range and that like mid as far as width for video, this one's been really good when I do shoot something like an event, like a wedding, a quince. It allows me to still get in the action, and then it allows me to also deal with pretty weird lighting. I don't always like to try to really push the sensor too much or ISO too much. I really like staying in that 8 to 3200 range because I know that's where the sensor is the happiest and the image is gonna look as clear as possible. So I don't really try to go too crazy with that. What I do if I'm shooting an event, I'll be like, okay, well, if this is a wedding, there's a good chance that during the reception 24-70 is off and I'm using the 35, and I'm gonna get into the action and make sure that I am as close to my subjects as possible without being too in it. So it's a nice middle ground, and it is just a great lens, and I think it has a little bit of character to it, and it has a little bit of a look. I really, like I said, I really like shooting the 18-35 on the crop sensor system with Canon. That was the lens that I ended the system on. That was like one of the last, that was my last holdout. I was like, is there a way that I can get this to work on the Sony setup? If not, then I think I'm gonna have to get rid of it. Haven't had any problems with autofocus. I did hear something. It was like I was listening to something very recently, and they were talking about how Sigma lenses tend to stop working after a while. Mine, I think so I think Sigma stamps their lenses with a year mark on it. Mine is marked 2012 and hasn't had any issues. You know, pretty quick focusing, very quiet. It's a great lens. Now that the lenses are done, I am going to talk about the camera a little bit more in detail. So it is the Sony a7 IV, the hybrid beast. It's the first camera that I've had in a while that I feel like I don't need much more from. I feel that there's still some surface that I need to cover on the camera to, you know, do more out of. I shoot most of my content now in 4K 24, but I just stay in the regular codecs. I don't really go too crazy and use anything like all intra. I only used all intra once, and that was when I was delivering a piece of content to someone else. I was a second shooter on a documentary project, and I wanted to make sure that the person had the absolute most latitude that they can to edit. But I mean, what can I say at this point about this camera that hasn't been said by millions of other YouTubers now? I mean, it's full frame, 33 megapixel, dual SD card slot, great color science, great autofocus. It has a full-size HDMI input. I mean, they really put everything they needed to in there. One thing I would say about the camera is I don't think the Sony menus are that great. I think that Sony's to me, hear me out. I think Sony's and Canon's, this is how I compare them sometimes. I think Canon is like an iPhone. Usually you can pick up someone else's Canon and they kind of have a similar setup to you. I remember at one point you could pick up someone's Canon. You didn't really have to worry too much about the settings being really different, or one button doing this and another button doing that. And everyone just kind of knew how to use Canon cameras. You know, they were very popular, and that's just kind of what everyone had. But I feel like Sony is like Android. Very good, very capable, very customizable, but I've had plenty of times I've picked up someone else's exact camera, a Sony a7 IV, and I'm just like, I don't know where your buttons are because they're different than mine. I have a couple custom buttons set up, and I did bring up that thing about the Sony menus, and a lot of people were like, oh, their menu system with the update has been so good, it's been great, blah, blah, blah. I still feel like it's confusing and it needs a little bit of work. I feel like when you're looking for certain things, you kind of have to menu dive and like Google a little bit too much, for me personally. But I think once you get your custom buttons set up, you're pretty much good. So it's been but other than that, it's been a great camera. Really, that's the only complaint I have. And then, oh wait, one more complaint. Let me complain. I don't think the battery life is that great. I don't think it's that great. I don't think it's the worst, but I don't think it's that great, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. So moving on to some knick-knack paddywhacks that I have in here. So I'm gonna start with this. So right here is the Godox TT350S, and it's a small speed light that still takes batteries. I think double A's or triple A. Double A's, I think. And the reason why I keep this in here is just in case I bring my camera with me somewhere and someone wants to shoot video and they're like, hey, you know what, let's shoot a little photo here and there. Okay, cool. I'll bring this to add a little bit of light, or if I was just to go take my camera out and do some street shooting or something, I want a little bit of extra light, a little bit of extra pop in there, I'll bring that with me. Next is gonna be my shotgun mic of choice, which is fairly new for me. I was a Rode mic boy for a long time, and let's see if we can get it to focus. There it is. So we are using the Sennheiser MK-E200, and a couple of reasons why I picked this. I was over the Rode camera, or the Rode Video Micros big chunky shock mount that they had on it. I was kind of over that. I broke mine, and this was like the second one that I've broken while I've had the Rode Video Micro, and I was just kind of over that. That was pretty annoying. I didn't like that with the windscreen. If you wanted the windscreen protection, you had to put this big goofy it's just too many parts for such a little item, right? So this has been my alternative to that. Think that the Rode is a little bit bassier in the low end, but I used this on a shoot recently, and man, there's a lot of reasons I really like it. The shock mount and everything is built into this one capsule rather than it being two different items, which can be very annoying. It has a little bit of wind protection in here, not as much as having a wind muff or a dead cat on it, which it does come with a dead cat, but you know, it does have a little bit of wind protection. The aux on it actually screws in and locks, and that's just an added layer of protection. If you are shooting with it on your camera, you don't really have to worry about the cord being yanked out and then you just lose audio and it kind of screws up the shoot. So and I also like the fact that, just like the Rode Video Micro, is I don't have to worry about batteries, and you just plug it right in. So that's pretty nice, and it's very small, compact, very easy to carry there. So next, we're gonna go with the Nisi filter holder. So this right here is, like I said, the Nisi filter holder. Pretty self-explanatory. I keep about 3 or 4 filters in here. One thing I really like about my current setup is the fact that all the filters in here are all 67mm. That's great because all of my lenses, except one lens, which is my 50mm f1.8, and I don't really use that lens that much, and that's not in here because I don't carry it as often. But yeah, my 28-75, 17-28, and my 85 that I don't carry every time, and also my 35, they are all 67mm. It saves me a lot of cash on having multiple filters for multiple sizes. I don't have to have step-up rings or anything like that. So usually the filters I'm carrying on me is gonna be a Tiffin Black Pro Mist at 1/4 strength. I think that gives me a good soft look. I'm actually using that right now on the 35 as I'm filming myself. I carry the Earth Variable ND. It's been great. It has hard stops in it, so you don't turn it too much. It's a very, very nice, very well built. I also carry a polarizing filter as well. I don't really shoot too much reflective surfaces, but every now and then when I'm doing some real estate work, I do encounter some reflective floors or countertops that I kind of want to flatten out a little bit just for a better shot for editing later. That's about it in the Nisi there. And then another thing that I carry here is some small rig gear. So I use the small rig sunshade. It's pretty self-explanatory as well. So this just snaps onto my monitor that's built into the camera to help make the image on the camera easier to see outside. Oof, couldn't say that. And then I have this as well. This is going to be another small rig product. Got this for $5 on TikTok. And it is the small rig model P96. And it's a pretty bright, pretty light and portable plastic built with multiple cold shoes on it if you ever want to mount other things on it. USB charging LED light for your videos. It's also bicolor too, so you can go between very warm or very cool. And this thing is great just in case you're in a pinch. It's kind of like a video version of the speed light I showed you earlier, just in case I need to bust it out. I can just throw it on top of my camera, throw it on, just hold it even, and add a little bit of light, fill light to a situation that didn't have it. The cool thing about this as well is the front of it is actually diffused pretty well, and it allows you to not have to carry. So it's a very all-in-one unit here, so it's pretty nice. Has a little control wheel on the back for brightness and things like that, so kind of cool. And last but not least, of course, I think every videographer, photographer knows how important this little piece is, but we have gaffer's tape. Yes, gaffer's tape is essential in most videographer and some even photographers' bags, because this stuff is, it's like as strong as duct tape, but it has slightly different properties. Whereas it's not silver and reflective, it's very matted, so you can put it in certain areas and not have to worry about it reflecting light if you don't want it to draw attention to itself. It sticks and it doesn't leave any residue in most cases, and it's just like I said, it's very strong. Like, to me, it's as strong as duct tape. I have things that I've gaffed before, like years ago, and it still has the same gaff tape on it. So and I didn't even talk about the bag, so I'm keeping everything in this PGY Tech Go 1 Mo 2 35-liter backpack. So funny story about this backpack, and I'll let you guys go. So I was in the market for a new backpack. The one that I had before was an In-Case Pro DSLR backpack, which is fantastic. If you ever see that backpack pop up somewhere, it's great. And I used it since about 2018, and I felt like I was starting to kind of outgrow it a little bit, and some of the internals were moving around. There was more than one time I had opened the bag and I actually had lenses hitting other lenses, and I couldn't have that anymore. So there, the bag search started. I found a PGY Tech bag, the Go 1 Mo 2, on Facebook Marketplace. I did some research, and it seemed like it had a lot of really good features, and it was the 25-liter. Listen, the 25-liter is what the person had it advertised as. And I was like, 25-liter, okay, cool. And so I ordered it. It was like $150, and I get the bag, and it ships. I'm kind of sketched out about it because it's brand new. It's in the box still with plastic on it. But this person said that they were a Amazon reviewer or something. That's how they got it, and it was brand new, right? So I get the bag, and it is brand new, as said, in the box, like I said. And I open it up. It's looking kind of big. And I open up the main flap, and I see 35-liter. So this bag usually is around the $250 mark, and I got this thing for she had it priced at $140 or $150, and I think I got it for $140 because I was like, would you take $140? And she was like, yes. And I was like, damn it, I should have said $130. Great bag. It is a little bit big, I'm not gonna lie. It's a little bit of a chunkster. I have had such good results with a bag this big. I didn't think that I would really like having a bag this big, but one thing I do like about it is it doesn't really scream camera bag, which is something I always look for in the bags that I carry multiple thousands of dollars of gear in. It has a tough exterior. It's, I think, water or weather resistant or waterproof. It has YKK zippers, so they're very smooth. Has this locking, these zippers kind of lock within themselves, so if someone wants to walk up behind you, they couldn't just rip your bag open if you are in a little bit of a sketchy area or you're overseas, you're not really like super familiar. It has multiple places where you can grab it, so you can grab it from the top handle. It has like a little side handle area so you can like hold it like a suitcase. Has a place for your MacBook. I've had a shoot or two where I was shooting some real estate and I needed my camera, my drone, and my gimbal, and I was able to carry them all in this bag in a pretty comfortable state. It has these little straps on it also that'll help raise a little bit of the pressure off of your shoulders in some weird way. So that was pretty crazy. I didn't think that that was gonna work out, because the bag actually, the front of it expands out a little bit to where you can fit your gimbal in there. So it's been a great bag. Like I said, it's a little bit big, but it's definitely worth it, and it's a great alternative to something like the Peter McKinnon bag. From what I can see, it seems like a lot of people do run the Peter McKinnon bag, and it seems like it's a great bag for sure. But for the price, you're getting a lot of value out of something like this. And also, I know I said that was my last thing, but before I go, I do use the Small Rig wireless mic system. That's what I've been talking into this whole time, and I hope the audio sounds great. I don't usually run it like this, but I just figured that this would be the quickest way to get this up and going with minimal setup. But so far, it's been a great system. I did have some issues with one copy that I had, so I did have to order another one. It was kind of giving me a little bit of a popping noise. I think that there was a problem with the lavalier mic input, but this does have a lavalier mic input. It's pretty small. This is the microceiver. That's the microceiver, and you can plug lavalier mics into the side. It has USB charging. The case is a little bit unique because it does not have a battery in the case. So I guess there's a good and a bad to that. I've always felt like when cases of electronics have batteries, you're constantly charging it, and I feel like that kind of puts a wear on the battery. This case does not have that battery in it, so when your mic is in there and the receiver is in there, it is not being charged. So but they do last for a while. I go weeks and weeks without having to charge them, so that is pretty convenient. So it is what it is. You know, if you're using your mics a whole lot, I don't know if I would go with a system like this, because you're probably going to find yourself having to charge them a lot more. I don't use my mics a whole lot, so I don't find myself having to charge them too much. But so far, they've been good. They don't have 32-bit float, which is a very common thing in mic systems right now. And basically what that does is that helps you have a lot more latitude when editing your audio. So if you get really loud, or if it's really soft, like a soft-spoken person that doesn't talk very loud, you have a little bit more range in post to kind of bring that back or save that audio. With these, you don't have that, but I haven't had too much trouble with these mics for the most part. I think that's going to be it for me today. I really appreciate you guys coming through, watching the bag tour, and I do want to I do want to get a little bit more consistent on here on YouTube. What I want to do is be able to take you guys through my journey as a creator, because this is one of the first years, or last year was like the first year that I was just a full-time creator, making money, paying rent off of working behind a camera. I was super fortunate of it and very appreciative of the opportunity, but it was very scary. So my goal now is going to be to like kind of take y'all along that journey with me, so y'all can kind of get my perspective of being a solo creator and an entrepreneur trying to grow a social media creative business in Texas. So guess I'll see you guys later, and remember, it's not goodbye, it's see you next time. Peace. Was that one take Drake?